With the fall of the Syrian government to rebels, Israeli leaders ordered the complete seizure of the Syrian side of the Golan buffer zone. Israel also confirmed that chemical weapons facilities in Syria were hit to prevent them from potentially being taken by extremist forces. Defense Minister Katz ordered the IDF to complete its control over the buffer zone between Israel and Syria after an initial deployment there yesterday. Katz said he ordered the army to create a security zone free of strategic weapons and terror infrastructure, including beyond the buffer that could pose a threat to Israel. He also instructed the army to make contact with the Druze community and other populations in and around the buffer. Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar confirmed that the Israeli Air Force had targeted and destroyed a Syrian chemical weapons facility and other strategic assets of the former Assad regime. The Air Force strikes are targeting missile depots, air defenses, and chemical sites that had belonged to the Syrian armed forces. Israel is destroying the sites out of concern that the arms could fall into the hands of hostile groups. Dozens of jets have taken part in the action intended to destroy what are called strategic weapons. Syria's rebel leader Abu Mohammed al-Julani has arrived in Damascus following the ouster of Bashar al-Assad yesterday. The Hayat Tahrir al-Sham rebel leader and his contingent force are now in control in the process of creating an interim government in the Syrian capital. In initial comments, al-Julani has indicated that Syria will be democratic, inclusive for all ethnic groups, and seeks peaceful relations with its neighbors. In recent years, al-Julani shed his image as a hardline Islamist terrorist and speaks of state-building institutions and centralizing power to reflect Syrian diversity.
هذا النصر يا أخواني تاريخ جديد للمنطقة. كم تلافينا من مخاطر. ترك سوريا تركها مزرعة للأطماع الإيرانية. نشر فيها الطائفية. أثار فيها الفساد.
According to reports from Moscow, al-Assad and his family have been granted asylum in Russia. An undetected drone fired from Yemen made direct impact on a building in Yavne. No injuries were caused. The Air Force said that the Houthi UAV was not identified by the Air Force and no attempt was made to intercept. The drone struck a penthouse in a residential building, and firefighters were called in to put out the blaze caused by the impact. There was a great deal of damage, but no injuries reported. The IDF has announced the names of 4 reserve soldiers killed in South Lebanon in an apparent operational accident. Major Evgeny Zinershon, 43, from Zichron Yaakov. Captain Sagi Rubinstein, 31, from Lavi. Master Sergeant Binyamin Nagosi, 28, from Bet Shemesh. And Sergeant First Class Erez Ben Ephraim, age 25, from Ramat Gan. There are still no reports of incoming rocket or drone fire from Hezbollah, but inside Lebanon, the IDF continues attacks on Hezbollah gunmen and targets found to be in violation of the ceasefire. More from ILTV's Ariella Lachiani.
The IDF confirmed that since the start of the 2-week-old ceasefire with Lebanon, it has killed 25 Hezbollah terrorists and struck dozens of terror targets from the air. There have only been a few armed clashes, and Hezbollah has only fired 2 mortars in one incident into Israel since the start of the pause in fighting. IDF troops have killed Hezbollah operatives found to be in violation of terms of the ceasefire, including attempts to enter restricted areas controlled by the IDF in southern Lebanon. Under the terms of the November 26th ceasefire, the IDF must withdraw from southern Lebanon by the end of January. Israeli leaders say the ceasefire is not the end of the war with Hezbollah, and much depends on Hezbollah compliance to Israeli conditions.
And ILTV's Mayan Hoffman is on the northern border to assess the region's state about a week and a half after the ceasefire agreement was signed. She reports that while the area is slowly coming back to life, most residents are still refusing to return home. Let's take a look.
About 10 days after a ceasefire was signed with the terrorist group Hezbollah, ending more than a year of cross-border violence, the people of northern Israel are beginning to evaluate their return home. For the first time in months, more stores have opened in the local mall near Kiryat Shmona. Enough cars are on the road to cause slight delays, a small but noticeable sign of life returning to the region. These changes offered a pleasant respite on Sunday after months of eerie silence during the war. Now, 14 months later, the destruction in Israeli towns like Metula is extensive, caused by Hezbollah rockets, damage from the IDF tanks and personnel who use the towns as bases, and they are overrun with rats and mold after more than a year of being empty. Most residents are still hesitant to return, unsure if the 60-day ceasefire agreement will hold. In towns like Metula and Manara, located around 6 kilometers from the border, the prospect of moving back feels nearly impossible. ILTV visited Metula on Sunday and met with 75-year-old resident Ariel Almog. Almog and his partner were the only ones to remain in Metula after evacuation orders were issued. He told ILTV that while some neighbors have returned to assess the condition of their homes since the ceasefire, few, if any, have decided to move back full-time.
I think people are still afraid from the situation that is not clear. And I think if the government would make it more specific, clear what exactly is going to happen, then I think that people will agree to come back as soon as possible.
Last week, IDF Northern Command Chief Major General Ori Golden informed mayors of the region that they could begin planning the rebuilding of their towns. However, residents are receiving little to no compensation for their losses, and the government has shown insufficient commitment to investing in the reconstruction of some of these communities.
And joining us now from Washington is Jonathan Schanzer, Senior Vice President at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Thanks so much for joining us at ILTV.
My pleasure.
Many in Washington were certainly surprised by the quick departure of al-Assad and his apparent replacement by al-Julani. Al-Julani was formerly al-Qaeda. He's still a wanted man in the U.S. What will the attitude of Washington be toward the new regime in Syria?
I think we don't know yet. I think that is really the way to sum it up. I mean, what we know right now is that HTS, formerly known as the Nusra Front, this is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, is an al-Qaeda affiliate group. These are individuals that are associated with al-Qaeda. That is their ideology. I don't see this necessarily as a very positive development. This is an organization that is backed by Qatar and Turkey. These are, of course, two sponsors of groups like Hamas, groups like ISIS, the Taliban. We're not looking at particularly moderate actors here. So on the one hand, we have the departure of the Assad regime, which has been associated with Iran and its axis, as it's known, across the region. And it has been a regime that has helped Hezbollah arm up with Iranian weapons. That's gone. That's a positive. But now what we have in its place is a Sunni jihadi vacuum of sorts. I think the key right now for the United States is to signal to HTS's backers in Qatar and Turkey that we're watching carefully and that there will be repercussions if the jihadis turn their sights on either Israel or the Kurds, two of America's most valuable allies in Syria. But right now it looks like the Biden administration is something of a bystander. And of course, the Trump administration has to wait about another month or more before taking office.
Well, Jonathan, let me ask you this. Do you think Israel is making the right move by moving into the Israeli side of the Golan buffer zone? We sent in troops and destroying what we call strategic weapons of the Assad regime. There were a few dozen airstrikes overnight inside Syria, hitting their arms.
Look, I think caution is the right thing right now. Chemical weapons should be removed from Syria. Advanced weapons, also should be removed. I'm talking about surface-to-air missiles, possibly aircraft, helicopters. I mean, the platforms that you don't want to see falling into the hands of Sunni jihadis, it makes perfect sense for the Israelis to be striking them. Of course, you have some of those advanced weapon assembly plants that Iran had created inside Syria, IRGC facilities. Some of those have apparently been destroyed as well. We're talking there about precision-guided munitions that are apparently being destroyed by the IDF. Taking territory could be a bit more dangerous, and the reason why is that it could be used as a casus belli by the Sunni jihadis to say, look, the Israelis are now occupying territory that should have been Syrian, at least by their calculus. and they may use that as a reason to wage war against Israel. Nevertheless, if there are Sunni jihadis on the other side of that buffer zone, it makes perfect sense for the Israelis to deploy there and to make sure that there are sufficient defenses to ensure that the country of Israel is not invaded by the Sunni jihadi forces.
All right, Jonathan Schanzer, Senior Vice President at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Thanks so much for being with us today at ILTV.
My pleasure.
The new rebel leader of Syria, Mohammed al-Julani, is entrenched in the Syrian capital and is the interim leader of the country, replacing the al-Assad family dynasty of 54 years. Israel is closely watching to see if he is an enemy or a potential peace partner. More on the new Syrian leader. When he was commander of the al-Qaeda faction in the Syrian civil war, Golani was a shadowy figure who kept out of the public eye, even when the group emerged as the most powerful faction fighting the al-Assad government. His messaging since reaching Damascus has been aimed at assuring minorities that they respect all minority rights and are Syrian patriots and not jihadists. A leading Syrian expert explains Golani, saying he retooled, refashioned, and made new allies.
It wants to establish an Islamic order, but under the leadership of Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani since 2017, it has tried in the northwest region of Idlib, over which it ruled mostly 3.5 to 4 million people. It has tried to assure minorities living there, Christians, other religious minorities, for them to have a role and to not be persecuted. It doesn't mean that there hasn't been violence against opposition. It was an authoritarian rule. It was not a democratic, liberal, secular kind of rule. Certainly not.
Golani severed ties with al-Qaeda in 2016 and effectively rebranded his group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, emerging as the de facto leader of the rebel-held northwestern Syria. There, he developed strong ties with Turkey and received strong support. In initial comments, al-Golani indicated that Syria will be democratic and inclusive for all ethnic groups, and that it will seek peaceful relations with all of its neighbors. As Israel finds itself 14 months deep into war, we can never do too much to support our heroes of the IDF. And doing just that is Nechama and Hatzalah for Israel, who have long been committed to supporting Israel's soldiers and civilians in need. Let's take a look.
In challenging times, it's often the small gestures that make the biggest impact. Nechama and Hatzalah for Israel, founded by Moshiko and Shmulik Moskowitz, has long been committed to supporting Israel's soldiers and civilians in need. This winter, they are continuing their tradition of providing comfort to IDF soldiers with a new initiative, a soup truck delivering hot meals to soldiers stationed on base. In the summer, Nechama and Hatzalah introduced an ice cream truck to bring a refreshing treat to soldiers, lifting their spirits during the heat of battle. And now, as the winter sets in, the soup truck is bringing warmth, offering soldiers a comforting meal and reminding them that they are supported and appreciated by the community they defend. In a time of intense duty, these moments of care can be a much-needed boost. The soup truck is more than just a meal. It's a gesture of solidarity, ensuring soldiers feel connected to their homes and families even while serving on the front lines. The Moskowitz brothers, with decades of experience in emergency services, have made it their mission to ensure that support reaches those who need it most, no matter the season. Moshiko, who serves on the front lines in Gaza, and Shmulik lead their efforts with dedication, working to provide essential support during difficult times. Their organization is about more than just delivering aid. It's about creating a network of support between the IDF and civilians, advocating for those affected by conflict, and fostering a culture of cooperation. As winter progresses, the soup truck will continue to visit IDF bases, offering warmth and support during a critical time. With the support of generous donors, Nechama and Hatzalah for Israel can continue to provide this essential service and more. Every donation helps ensure that Nechama and Hatzalah's mission of support, advocacy, and solidarity with the IDF and Israeli communities remains strong. Together, we can continue to make a meaningful impact, providing for those who are always there to protect us.
And joining me now is the founder of Nechama and Hatzalah, Shmuel Moskowitz. Shmuel, it's truly inspirational work. What was your inspiration?
So, first of all, our organization, we established it a few years ago on my mother's name. Nechama. She was a social worker in Bnei Brak here in Israel. She came from, when she was the age of 18, she came from New York by herself, learned social work and dedicate her life to help others in Bnei Brak. And that was our inspiration to build something to continue her work after she gone a few years ago.
Now, your initiative includes a soup truck, obviously in the winter, and an ice cream truck in the summer. Makes a lot of sense. A lot of soldiers have the access to take advantage of it.
Sure, we almost every day we're going or to the south or to the north of Israel. We know we are battling 2 or maybe 4 areas now in Israel. And the soup and the ice cream is like the symbol of our support to our families and friends that fighting in the front line, family, my brothers in the front line. And it's a symbol that we don't forget them, especially in this day that we had the awful news about in the north. And it's a hard day. And we still want to let them know that we don't forget them. We know that they're still fighting. We know that we all fighting together. Give them something warm from home. Even if it's ice cream, it's warm from home, or soup.
Now, your brother, Moshiko, is currently serving in active duty. Is that kind of part of the inspiration, knowing that you have a sibling that's there fighting as well?
Of course, I'm also in the reserves duty as well. And because we are so close to our comrades in battles, we know what they need. We know what the small things that make a big difference. And that's what we're doing. It's a big difference. It's a big operation. Every day we have platoons or companies going out, or sometimes we bring the food inside Gaza. Inside Gaza, they only have like a battle pack, food packs, only cold food packs from cans. That's what they have inside Gaza or in the north. And when we give them something warm, like a soup, inside, it's warm their heart, give them more inspiration, why they need to fight, what they're fighting for, and that's why we think that we're doing a big difference for them.
Well, here's the most important thing. How can our viewers support? What do our viewers need to do in order to impact this program as directly as possible?
So for now, what we need, we have enough of volunteers, and we already have a family, a Safar family, that donate the vehicle and the equipment for the soup, and I want to thank a Safar family for their donation. And each one that want to support us as well, please provide us and donate it to us, even small, even big, as much as you can.
You have the QR code up on the screen right now?
I think so. We share the QR code.
So you just have to use that QR code to make a donation?
Yes.
And it goes directly to help put more soup in those soup trucks and more ice cream in those ice cream trucks.
Exactly. There's no middleman. It's directly to the soup, directly to the soldiers, nobody on the way, and we are together with that. And please help us with any way that you can.
Shmuel, just want to wish you well and tell our viewers, make a contribution, help our soldiers. It's the little things that you can do.
The little things that you can do, and please support us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The advocacy group Stop Anti-Semitism is demanding that the U.S. cut ties with a major businessman over alleged anti-Semitism. Stop Anti-Semitism is urging the U.S. government to cut ties with Patrick Doyle, the CEO of International Diplomatic Supplies, a major supplier to U.S. embassies worldwide. Doyle is accused of spreading anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, calling for boycotts of Israeli businesses, and labeling the IDF as white supremacists. In archived posts, Doyle claimed that Western leaders are controlled by Israeli money and referred to Israel as an evil, genocidal abomination. Stop Anti-Semitism insists the U.S. must uphold its values and sever contacts with Doyle immediately. And for this change of pace, ILTV's Ariella Lachiani has joined me on this set, and she is bearing a beautiful selection of gifts from Judaica Web Store. My guess is we are approaching Hanukkah. If you like anything you see here, or want to see anything else from the Judaica Web Store that they have to offer, scan the QR code. So, Ariella, what is all of this?
Okay, so your guess is correct. Hanukkah is coming up in just 2.5 weeks. Actually starts the same day as Christmas this year, which is so nice. Jews and Christians across the world will be celebrating together.
These are Jewish gifts.
These are, although, yes, these aren't. This is a goodie box of tastes of Israel. We have olive oil, honey, date spread. But what is Hanukkah? It is the celebration of the rededication of the Holy Temple. And we have many traditions that come with it. So the main one being that the Maccabees, when they went to light the temple menorah, they only had enough oil for one day, but it lasted for 8 whole days. So that's why we have these Hanukkahs, and we light a candle every night for 8 days. So I will show you what we've got. This is a little selection of what Judaica Web Store has to offer. So we have a few pieces by Yair Emanuel. He is a top artist of Judaica. So we have this piece, this piece, this piece, all Hanukkah, all beautiful. This is of the old city of Jerusalem. This one, which I love, my personal favorite, comes with 3 different options. You can have this with the colors. You can also have the plain silver one, and also one with three different shades of blue. He also has this.
It's a dreidel?
It's a dreidel.
Oh, that's so cute.
A hand-painted dreidel.
What a beautiful thing.
Beautiful thing, and also perfect, because the tradition on Hanukkah has evolved that we give gifts. So something like that's a nice one. More of dreidels, we have this, comes with that. I haven't done it because I'm hopeless at stuff like this, but you put it together with no glue. It's a dreidel.
Oh, it's another
dreidel. And you put it together yourself, and then you can paint it, play with it. We also have these to come with the Hanukkah, handcrafted candles in blue and white, of course, symbolic of Israel. And this one as well by Dorit Judaica, which comes with, where is it? Here it is, a challah cover. So
And
really nice
To
as
get
well.
into the store, they just have to scan the QR code.
Scan the QR code, and that's it. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what they have to offer. They also have moving away from the Hanukkah, which is if you want to buy a gift for someone or you need the new one yourself, this is a place to go. And then also here we have 2 necklaces. This, my personal favorite, a name necklace in Hebrew in 24 karat gold plated. I want one of those. So if someone's watching who loves me, scan the QR code and get me that. And then this as well. This is for men, the interlocking Star of David in silver.
So everything you see here and much more is on the site.
Everything you see here and much more. Judaica Web Store is the leading store of Judaica. All Israeli businesses, so you're supporting Israel, you're supporting Israeli businesses, especially at this time. So scan the QR code and go for it.
Thanks, Ariella.
Thank you.
Well, let's take a look at the weather forecast. Mostly clear skies are expected tonight around the country, and temperatures should reach lows of around 11 degrees Celsius or 53 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow, mostly sunny skies are expected, alongside warm temperatures set to reach highs of 23 degrees Celsius or 73 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all of your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channels, subscribe to our ILTV newsletter, and explore our website at iltv.tv. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Steve Liebowitz. Be well and shalom from the State of Israel.